Well, good morning, my fellow Zenites. Did you check your pulse and wallet balance this morning with your coffee? Well, in this tumultuous crypto world we're living in, it is heartening to see that the price of Pzen is holding up extremely well. Transactions, of course, tailed off, which is highly, not surprising considering the environment that we are in at the moment. But of course, the future is looking extremely bright for Pzen. Meanwhile, in the centralized finance world, things seem to be going from bad to worse. This morning, another rug pull by a fund called Cronus, which has stolen about another $600 million worth of people's money. SBF, Sam No Bank Fraudman, continues to give mindless media interviews claiming that he is a simpleton and he simply did not notice that there was an extra $8 billion in his account to spend. It beggars belief. Of course, now everyone else seems to be jumping on that same bandwagon of getting onto social media and professing their innocence. And I'm talking about, of course, the Three Arrows Capital guys who have steadfastly refused to talk to the liquidators who are trying to find and, chase up everyone's assets. Well, this group, the liquidators, managed to find about $36 million worth of depositors' funds from the Three Arrows Capital hedge fund. And that's on top of about $2 billion, which they've managed to find so far. No thanks to the founders of Three Arrows Capital, allegedly. So, the centralized finance world doesn't leave anyone with a great impression what cryptocurrency is about. But of course, DeFi, decentralized finance, is a completely different animal. The whole premise and promise when the Bitcoin white paper came out in 2008 was it was going to be permissionless. You wouldn't have to trust anybody. It would be self-custodial and it would be censorship resistant. Now, that code is over 14 years old. And it's often stated that, Bitcoin solves a problem that doesn't exist. Whereas Pzen does solve a real world problem. And the real world problem is this. We are living in an economic society right now where the wealthy just keep getting more wealthy and the poor keep getting poorer. And it's getting worse. Now, let me explain some macroeconomics from my understanding. We had the job report come out last week, and it would seem that 280,000 jobs came on to the exchange, which sounds like a good thing. So the economy, has produced all this work. Why is that a bad thing? Well, the bad thing is that one thing that the Federal Reserve is trying to do is to reduce inflation. I'm sure you've heard about this. I'm sure you've filled up your car with gas this week, and I'm sure you've been to the grocery shop. And I'm pretty sure that most of you will have seen that the prices since the beginning of the year are about 30% more than they were in January. Now, that's inflation that affects all of us in our pockets. The Fed's target inflation rate is 2%. And so they're hell-bent in trying to get it back down into a normal range. And the only way they can do that is this. They need to crash the housing market, they need to crash the stock market, and they need to crash the employment market. Well, the figures that just came out this week are showing they're doing a terrible job. And yet Jerome Powell has come out and said, well, we think we're getting things under control and we're going to actually slow down the pace of increase in interest rate hikes. That is a double bluff. It is absolute nonsense. We are in for a huge depression in 2023, the likes of which we've probably never seen. Certainly if you're nowhere near my age, as I suspect most of you are watching this. So mark my words, the biggest indicator that we've had this week is what's known as the yield curve. And to put that into perspective, basically the government issues bonds with the idea that the issuer of the bonds is a trusted source. So therefore, if you want to invest your money in the safest possible way, then why would you not give it to the government? Well, the interest rate on those bonds and the time of those bonds to maturity varies. And one of the two most closely watched are the 2-year bonds and the 10-year bonds. And whenever the 10-year bond interest rate goes below the 2-year rate, it is known as an inversion of the curve, the yield curve, because you would assume that, the longer that you hold a bond, the better the interest rate should be. But whenever in past history there has been a scenario where the short bond, the 2-year bond, is paying a higher interest rate than a 10-year bond, that yield curve inversion has always preceded, by about a time frame of a year, a major economic depression. So with all the evidence that we've seen in macroeconomics, there's nothing to suggest that 2023 is going to be anything but a very bad year. Now, what does that mean for the crypto world? Because clearly we are in a severe bear market right now, with sentiment probably at the lowest it's ever been. However, it is very likely that a lot of new people are going to be looking around to try and get yield on their assets. And there is no higher appreciating asset class, even in this bear market, if you pick the right protocol, than decentralized finance yield earning protocols. And of course, the king of them all is Pzen. So let's just see how this works. There is a video that's been produced, and with a guy whose voice is far sexier than mine. So if I can just bring this up for you, if you've not seen it before, it's well worth listening to. I think it's a great little video, and it explains pretty succinctly in a very short space of time exactly the opportunity that is Pzen.
In these tumultuous economic times, it seems harder and harder to get ahead. Even though you have made all the right financial decisions, it's never enough. The problem is not you, it's the system. You see, the system is designed to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. The only solution is to break free from this system. Today, you can join a new, growing economy and finally get ahead. This economy is built around a socially engineered token called Pzen, which is designed to redistribute wealth. The truth is that there is no scarcity of wealth. We just need a better redistribution system. Pzen harnesses the power of the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest. Simply buy and hold Pzen in your wallet, and after each transaction made across the network, your token balance goes up. This is thanks to the pay it forward deduction, which takes 2% of every transaction and distributes it equitably to all Pzen holders. No one is coming to save you. This is the way out, but you need to do the work. You have to get educated. You have to take a leap of faith. You have to join the new economy to secure your financial future. Take control of your finances with Pzen.
So it's such a simple protocol to understand. And remember, this is decentralized finance. All the bad stuff that's been happening over the last few months is centralized finance, which is basically traditional finance guys using digital currencies, and they steal your money in the same ways as they've been doing for years in traditional finance. It's no wonder, words like Bernie Madoff and Enron and Ponzi schemes are being bandied around right now, because that's exactly what they've been doing with digital currencies in the centralized finance world. You are still trusting a human being with your money, a third party with your money. Decentralized finance promises you are the only one that's looking after your money. You choose to act with the code. You choose to self-custody your money. And that's exactly how it should be. And of course, Pzen is the king of those protocols. Look, it is often said that Warren Buffett keeps saying that the eighth wonder of the world is compounding interest. And Pzen does that on steroids. Because for every transaction that happens, let's say you own 1 million Pzen and you get 250 from the transaction. How does that happen? Well, as the video says, you have the pay it forward fund. A deduction of 2% is made for every transaction, be it a buy, a sell, or a transfer to another wallet. That creates a pool of money. That pool of Pzen is then equitably distributed to all holders of Pzen in proportion to the percentage of the total supply of Pzen that there is at that time. Now, on the very next transaction, of course, the number of Pzen that you own went up, which means that your percentage of the total supply went up, which means that out of the 2% pool that's being created on the very next transaction, you will get more of that pool. And not only that, after every transaction, a certain proportion is burnt by the code, which means that in actual fact, your holdings, percentage-wise, actually went up again for every single transaction. This is the simplicity, but the magic of compounding interest, but on steroids. The compounding rewards built into the Pzen ecosystem are phenomenal. And everybody who's participating can wake up and see this every single day as their token balance goes up. And as more and more people pile in and understand what it is that they can do to change their financial future, the future is bright. Just as it is down here on Conrad's Island. A very chilly morning this morning. It's 23 degrees. It's normally about 28 degrees at this time in the morning. So this is the coldest day that we've had this year. And it is a welcome chill, that is for sure. But it is going to be warming up from now on in, just like the Pzen marketplace. So that's my coffee morning rant. I sincerely wish that you have a fantastic and pleasant Sunday wherever you are in the world. And if you didn't manage to watch my latest live broadcast yesterday, it is well worth spending 30 minutes of your valuable time today to go and watch that, or even rewatch it if you were there yesterday for the live. I think some very interesting facts and figures coming out of that video that might give you some inspiration. So also next week we have our mega Pulsinator draw where 3 names get thrown out of the machine. The first name out will win 100,000 Pzen. The second name out will win 200,000 Pzen. And the third name will win 500,000 Pzen. No purchase required. Just register yourself at pulsen.xyz. And that will be broadcast on Thursday of next week. And we think it's around about 2 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. So let's just say hello to a couple of people who have joined me at this ungodly hour. Nate Thompson says, good morning. Can't wait to accumulate 3 million Pzen and hold. Thanks from Florida. Yes, good morning to you in Florida. I know it's morning time there, and I guess the weather's pretty much similar, as I'm not that far away off the coast down here in the Caribbean Sea. So for now, I thank you very much all for watching, especially my replay viewers, and I will see you in the next broadcast. I'm Conrad Pzen, former Bitcoin Foundation member, and now evangelist for Pzen. Have a fantastic day.